Welcome back to Pace Immigration, paceimmigration.com, talking once again with Immigration Director Jim Metcalf. Jim, lots going on again. It's never a dull one in Canadian immigration. And the latest is the investor immigration program, for lack of a better metaphor. It's basically been blown up. What's going on?
Well, like many things in the government, it's change, and managing the pace of change is one of the hardest things the government can do. However, we had an omnibus budget bill this spring, and tucked in there was the cancellation of the Immigrant Investor Program, the Federal Immigration Investor Program, and also the Federal Entrepreneur Program. We knew this was coming. We knew approximately when it was coming, and it came, and it went. So no more new applications under the Federal Immigrant Investor Program, no new entrepreneur applications. And all the old ones, the backlog, for lack of a better word, of about 12 to 14,000 applications have been canceled. They went poof.
Right.
The government is going to be refunding processing fees and eliminating a backlog just by the stroke of a pen. There was a federal court challenge which was decided, I believe, late last week, and a federal court judge says there's people who were in the backlog have no standing in this matter because the rationale using was that a visa officer may issue a visa, and it's not an automatic, it's not a right, and these people have no rights under the law once the program is canceled. So 12 to 14,000 people who are going to invest money in Canada are gone. There's been a lot of criticism of the program because the money was very, very passive. It wasn't going to build roads or sewers or going into venture capital funds or whatever. It was very much dead money, which was the federal government loaned to the provinces. In its place, the federal government is planning on putting forward a new immigrant investor program, which will put money into venture capital funds and into infrastructure funds. How much money is going to be, and when it will be launched, and how big these funds will be is another question. I predict it'll probably be a minimum of $1 million. And
a minimum $1 million investment from the investor?
$1 million investment from the investor to go into a venture capital fund. Okay. Which in turn would flow into business opportunities in Canada. The money would be at risk, as any venture capital fund would be. Plus, the second one would be an infrastructure fund to build major projects. So if Toronto builds a subway, maybe they can apply to, or if Toronto decides to build a subway, maybe they can apply to the infrastructure fund to borrow money at 1 or 0.5% interest rate. Or if you want to build the Blue Water Bridge or the bridge between Windsor and Detroit, the federal government through immigrant investors would fund something like that.
Now, does this answer the question then? Because the previous one, the major knock on it was that it was cash for citizenship. That if you gave the government money, you basically got citizenship. How does this infrastructure fund answer that argument?
Well, I think it's a stretch to say it was money for citizenship. At the same time that they're changing the immigrant investor rules, they're changing the citizenship rules. So it used to be fairly easy for a person to gain citizenship, residence for 1,095 days in a 4-year period, which was a pretty soft number because you could be absent. But the new citizenship rules are going to be 1,460 days of physical presence, which is different than residence in Canada. And because residence was never defined, residence could be a state of mind. The end result is that I think it's going to be a better program combined with a citizenship program. But citizenship is going to take 1,460 days of physical presence in Canada with a minimum of 6 months or 183 days in any 1 year, which will count towards your requirement for citizenship. So I think it was a bit of a stretch to say it was investment for citizenship. It was investment for residence purposes. But nobody's done a longitudinal study to say, where are all the investors now? Are they still in Canada, or are they back wherever they came from?
Right. Now, if you are an investor that's watching this this video and you're thinking, okay, the federal program is undefined as yet, is there something that they can start doing now or using now if they want to invest in Canada?
There are other programs available in Canada. There are provincial programs which have more people who are active in business who want to either acquire or start a new business in Canada. There is still the Quebec Investor Program, which will be open for at least the next 2 years. It's much smaller, 1,750 people per year, but I believe it's a much better managed program. There are no backlogs. There are no backlogs going on for 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 years. And it's I think it's much more professionally managed than the old federal investor program.
Date? Is there a date on when they're going to roll this new federal program out?
They're shooting for the 1st of January next year, 2015.
Okay.
Whether it'll come to pass is another question, but I expect they have to get back into the game again. But I think there'll be a lot of untrusting people. I think the large majority of federal investors always came from China, and I think now that you've canceled that program, will Chinese investors trust the Canadian government the second time around? I have my doubts, because there's an awful lot of other programs out there around the world now which have a certain higher degree of certainty. They're better defined and with less backlogs. You know, if you want to acquire the nationality of a good country, you can acquire Antigua. It offers a citizenship program. St. Kitts and Nevis offers a citizenship program. A lot of European countries offer residence programs for investments or acquisition of real property.
No, that's right. I remember that I was reading that. I think even Spain and Portugal.
And Portugal and Malta and Greece. Bulgaria has a program. There are any number of them in the world these days. Australia has a premium product. I think it's $5 million, and you get sort of express residence in the country. There are any number out there.
So it's wait and see for Canada what they're going to do.
For Canada, wait and see. It's either Quebec or you're looking at a provincial program. But we're not the only ones in the world that offer these sort of opportunities for high net worth people.
True. Yeah, not at all. All right, Jim, thanks for coming by. I'm sure we're going to talk again soon. And, you're sticking around I'm going to do another video with you. We're going to talk about permanent resident cards.
Right.
And people can click on the link I've got on the screen right now to check that out as well.
Great.
All right. Thanks, Jim.